When 343 Industries took over the Halo franchise for Microsoft, they were taking on board not only an enormous, revered and highly successful franchise, they were taking over development duties from one of the most well-respected developers in the industry in Bungie. Bungie brought Halo to Xbox fans back in 2001, an already fantastic development team back in the 90s. Bungie would go on to be the darling of Xbox fans when they released Halo Combat Evolved and catapulted Microsoft's new Xbox console into the mainstream and changed first-person shooters forever. Welcome to MaxPowerPlay. Be sure to check out the other gaming opinions, news and reviews, and be sure to subscribe to the channel. This will be a two-part video. The other part will be by Roanoke Gaming, who will be focusing on the Halo Spartan lore. So make sure you check out the link in the description and visit his channel for great lore videos regarding Halo and other games. For this gamer, Halo is video game royalty, with a number of incredible games, both for their fantastic campaigns and brilliant multiplayer. A multiplayer that would see it lead the charge for Xbox's online dominance with Halo 2 back in 2004. With the release of Halo 5, Xbox One had its first taste of a new generation of Halo games, and 343 Industries were releasing their second Halo game. This time around, a number of multiplayer changes were going to be present. Changes that will divide the Halo community. But what are those changes, and are they worthy additions to the game, or do we need the classic Halo feel back? Halo multiplayer found great popularity in the early 2000s, especially with the ability of the Xbox console to be networked together, a necessity due to the time's lack of dedicated online multiplayer options on consoles. And it was at this time where fans had their first taste of Halo PvP, and it would set the trend for years to come and, inevitably, lead to the amazing sequels of Halo 2 and Halo 3, two titles that held up as being the pinnacle of the series in both the campaign and in multiplayer. But with the release of Halo 5, has the franchise taken a step back, or has Halo as a series simply evolved to include more modern-day mechanics and gameplay trends? All games, especially those with the name, history and success such as Halo, all run a very real risk when changing anything to do with the competitive side of the games. Those who are used to the previous games in the series can feel like the different feel of the game, the different mechanics and even different play styles of how to play the game can make long-time fans feel alienated as they struggle to find the same enjoyment they once did, especially after they may have put in hundreds or even thousands of hours into the previous entries in the series. On the other hand, there are many players who simply accept the changes made, and in many cases go on to enjoy the games more, especially if the changes bring the game more into line with other modern-day shooters available on the market. So, what are the changes that Halo 5 introduced in its multiplayer that differs so much from its predecessors? I'll start off with a major technical change that Halo 5 introduced to the series, and one that does take some adjusting to if you've been playing the previous games, and that is how the PvP this time around runs at a smooth 60 frames a second. The amount of control and precision that this gives gamers is always beneficial, but it's also the consistent and constant 60 frames a second that makes it such a huge step forward for the series. Previous games could drop frames here and there when action heated up too much, and for anyone who plays any multiplayer shooters would know, this can be a cause for frustration. On the original Xbox One, Halo 5 had a dynamic resolution which would scale the image depending on the action taking place on the screen, and this would allow the game to always keep its 60 frames per second constant. The added power of the Xbox One X added even further to this with its 4K resolution, providing a level of detail not seen in the series before, plus also retaining the stable frame rate. These additions really moved Halo into a new era, and we can expect the same additions in future releases. But apart from the technical aspects of Halo 5, let's take a look at how the gameplay has changed. Changed for the better for some, and completely ruined for others. In addition to the sprint mechanics making a reappearance, there were several other additions to the game that made it differ from previous titles. Being able to clamber up to a ledge lent itself to some levels having more verticality, with players being able to jump up to higher ledges, often being great places to hide out and wait for enemies, especially if they were near a base or provided good sniping spots. 343 also introduced thrusters for Spartans, which gives a quick boost of speed as well as the option to assassinate enemies. But with Halo 5, Other Spartan abilities were also introduced, which many players have their own opinions on, and these abilities were the shoulder charge and the ground pound. The shoulder charge is perhaps the most controversial, as players can activate the ability after sprinting. Sprinting since its introduction has split the community into those who enjoy its implementation and those who feel that sprinting has no place in a Halo game. These two elements combined, the sprinting and the shoulder charge, has changed the Halo PvP experience quite drastically and is quite powerful when used correctly. Shooting at a charging enemy only to die from a shoulder charge is something players needed to get used to when playing Halo 5 as opposed to the previous titles, but 343 also went on to add the ground pound. This ability, when mastered, allowed gamers to attack enemies from height. It worked by a player being airborne. They would then create a target on the ground that the player could move around, and most often it was onto an enemy below. Another very powerful attack, and one which was introduced with Halo 5, again changing the classic Halo formula. Of course, it all comes down to personal preference as to whether a player enjoys these new Spartan abilities, or if they should have been left out. Personally, I enjoy these additions to the game, as it makes the matches play quite different to previous titles in the series. After 5 main games in the series, plus several other additions, do gamers simply need another Halo game that plays so similarly to those that have come before? The answer will differ from person to person, but I feel that Halo needed to evolve to still stay relevant in the gaming landscape in terms of its multiplayer. Multiplayer gaming has been gaining popularity more and more as the years go on, and gaming today is very different from what it was back in 2001. Halo 5 included these abilities and changes to freshen up the game and provide something different for existing fans. This was 343 putting their stamp on the Halo franchise, just as Bungie had done with the first games. We will never know what changes Bungie would have made to the franchise were they still in charge, but even if they were, the Bungie of today is very different when compared to that amazing development studio that gave us the Master Chief and changed console shooters forever. Halo 5 may have changed the multiplayer even more than Halo 4 did, taking it further away from the original games, where the franchise received such a huge number of fans. But we should want changes, and hopefully they are beneficial to the series. If no changes are implemented, or even tried, then Halo will inevitably become stuck in the past, and eventually gamers will move on to the many other titles that offer something new. With Halo 6 almost a certainty to be released in the next couple of years, it will be an even more different gaming landscape than even Halo 5 launched in. Not only will Halo 6 need to compete with other, more arena-based shooters, it will also have to contend with the immense popularity of Battle Royale game modes. I'm hoping that Halo 6 does not include a Battle Royale game mode and instead focuses on what it does best: team-based matches that require communication, skill, precision, and tactics within a smaller map. Halo 5 is not the Halo that I grew up with. It's a much more modern-day shooter with modern-day mechanics, some of which are stripped from other games, but that's okay. After playing hundreds and hundreds of hours of Halo 5, mostly going in solo and coming up against teams, it becomes clear why Halo is still such a popular and loved series. Why it's an esport, and whilst the influence of esports may be a little too much at times, it proves just how balanced, fun, and rewarding the game still is, even if it isn't perfect and strays from the classic Halo games. Some of my best gaming memories are from playing the Halo games, and it has been no different with Halo 5. Just as we all grow older, change and adapt to modern day living and pressures, so too did Halo 5, and future titles will continue this, but I for one will be there playing, as Halo has delivered great PvP action for me for close to 2 decades, and as long as the essence of Halo stays intact, and the games are treated with the respect they deserve, then we will be enjoying more competitive multiplayer Halo for years to come. But these are just my thoughts on the Halo 5 multiplayer topic. I want to know what everyone else thinks. Have you stuck with Halo 5 and still enjoy playing it? For those who haven't, are you looking forward to Halo 6? Let me know down in the comments. Like always, if you enjoyed the video, then hit that thumbs up and hit the bell to be reminded of future videos as I upload a few times a week. Thanks for watching the video. Make sure you check out the lore video in the description. Please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time on MaxPowerPlay.